We'll call this meeting to order of the Lake Dallas Independent School District Board of Trustees. It is September 19th, 2022. All members are present. We do have a quorum established. The open session of the meeting will adjourn. The Board of Trustees will reconvene in executive session pursuant to one or more of the sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. The Board of Trustees will reconvene in open session to take any final action, decision, or vote on a matter deliberated in closed session, and it is 5:30. It is 6:04, and we reconvene to open session. Our next item are pledges of allegiance, and they will be led by students from Corinth Elementary. It's Brantley Knuckles, Thomas Eldred, Maya Ward, and Brooklyn Kanabe. I want to go ahead and come on up front and lead us in our pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
And now that everybody's seated, right quick, if you don't mind, if we just do a quick moment of silence, okay? Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next item is our student reports, and this report comes from Corinth Elementary.
Dr. Rockwood, President Stacy, and Board, I am thrilled tonight to introduce to you 4 Corinth Elementary students: Brantley Knuckles, Thomas Eldred, Maya Ward, and Brooklyn Kanabe. These students not only said our pledges tonight, but they will also share with you some exciting updates regarding the elementary campus's computer labs.
In the computer lab class, students are focused on learning computer skills like caring for devices, creating products using digital tools, basic software and hardware functions, and coding. Students are sharpening their keyboarding and typing skills and practicing their digital communication.
Additionally, students learn about digital citizenship and how to safely navigate the internet and communicate in safe and kind ways in online spaces.
Starting this year, all STAR exams will be online. The skills learned in these labs will help us get ready for these end-of-the-year tests so we can achieve to the best of our abilities.
Okay, students would now like to tell you one thing that they love about technology specials.
One thing I love about tech is, for example, at the beginning of the year, we did a stop motion picture with Google Slides, and every slide we moved less than a centimeter, and it showed our creativity.
One thing I like about tech is I get to go on these cool websites and learn how to use them differently. And
What I like about technology is specials is to help us learn more about the internet and learn how to do stuff safely on websites. It can help us work and life, and the district helps with that to keep us safe on the internet. Something I like about tech is that we get to express our ideas and feelings on the screen. For example, we got to choose what we wanted to do for the slideshow animation. Like if you liked football, you could do football, to where if you liked unicorns, you could do unicorns.
Thank you for your time. We would like to ask our board members to join us for a picture, please.
Okay, you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
I want to know if any of y'all can do it, since I want somebody.
Our next agenda item is the public comment period. This is the time for citizens, staff, and students to provide their comments to the board. The Texas Open Meetings Act requires that every meeting of a governmental body be open to the public except those closed sessions as permitted by the statute. A meeting that is open to the public under the Act is one that the public is entitled to attend. However, the Act does not give the public the right to speak at such public meetings except to redress their grievances through proper channels. As a courtesy to the public, Lake Dallas ISD Board of Trustees allows time for public comments at regular meetings of the board. Statements and questions from the audience will not be permitted during other portions of the meeting. The board requests that comments on any subject be courteous and respectful. This public comment period is not intended for the presentation of complaints. The board will only consider complaints that remain unresolved after they have been addressed through proper administrative channels and when they have been placed on the agenda. I also caution you that your public comments should not complain about individual school employees by name or position pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074 unless that employee requests a public hearing after you have followed the district's grievance procedures, which are found in board policy. As presiding officer, I'm obligated to determine whether a person addressing the board has attempted to administratively resolve any complaints or grievances about which they want to address the board that involve district officers or employees. If that person has not sought to do so through the dispute resolution channels established by policy, he or she will be referred to the applicable policy in order to do so before addressing the board at a future meeting. Complaints and concerns of employees are covered by policy DGBA. Those of students or parents are covered by policy FNG, and those of the general public are covered by policy GF. In addition, please respect the privacy of Lake Dallas ISD students and do not identify or discuss any student other than your own child during your presentation. In order to have your comments heard tonight, your name and the subject matter of your comments must appear on the sign-up sheet, which was located by the door when you came in. Lake Dallas ISD policy BED local limits each speaker to 5 minutes to complete his or her comments, up to a maximum of 30 minutes for all of the public comments. I will strictly enforce this time limit. Finally, please note that by law, Lake Dallas ISD Board of Trustees cannot lawfully respond, discuss, or make any decision on any matter raised in the public comment period which is not specifically listed on the board agenda for this meeting. With these cautions in mind, we will now be glad to hear general comments. And I have Jennifer Dodson wishing to speak about student cell phone.
Hi. Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Rockwood. Thank you for your time this evening. I grew up in Dallas ISD. My parents were there. I grew up in Dallas schools. I've worked in many industries as a consultant in database administration, so I know how privileged users act with company data. Then I went into data security 7 years ago, and my job is either to deploy data security tools or I am helping customers deploy those tools to protect their company data. I would like to request that we do not collect the student's cell phone information. I know you guys graciously met a couple of weeks ago and discussed that, so I'd like to ask again. I know the intent of the school district is a good one, to help teachers communicate with the students in many different forms to help them. But as part of the data security industry, data breaches happen all the time. In the most recent news, Los Angeles Unified School District just had 500 gig of data stolen by Russian ransomware. Dallas ISD just had students steal several student, employee, and teacher records. Skyward and Toole County, during a migration process, exposed children's information to other parents in 2022. Arlington ISD just had a substitute teacher's credentials stolen, and those were used to access information for 2,000 students. Allen ISD was just hit with ransomware for $10 million. Now they can afford a $50 million stadium. But anyway, these are real things that are local. And the last example is Mansfield ransomware. And these are all recent examples. We already do have many ways to communicate with Skyward, Canvas, SportsU, the classroom, and email. So. And I want to be clear, I have no objection, and I don't wish to try to tell people how to parent in any way. But where teachers and students and parents all agree, we can exchange phone numbers. My child has done that with teachers that we know that they're good. Also, and this is not something I'm saying on behalf of you, but some school districts can sell or share information. We wouldn't want that to happen. But finally, my most important point is the misuse, inappropriate use of data. It does happen regardless of your intention. There are so many awesome teachers in Lake Dallas ISD. I don't want to diminish that in any way, shape, or form. They are phenomenal. But good intentions aside, misuse can occur. Predators start with words that your monitoring system may not pick up. You know, a predator starts with, you know, hi, how are you doing? You did a great job today. That was amazing. I'd like to help you do better. They set a pattern. Then the victim, as it progresses, they get confused and they're overwhelmed because the predator is smarter than them. They're manipulators. Then they could be blackmailed, pressured, the list goes on. These are kids 12 to 18 that we're asking for information to be collected on. These are minors. I have a 15-year-old daughter, so that all ages have different dynamics going on. We don't like to think of these things, but these things are happening in the real world today. A Prosper bus driver has just had recent allegations, and I'll leave it at that. The Ponder Junior High School assistant principal was just arrested last month. A Geyer High School chemistry teacher had abuse in 2017 and was arrested in 2019. And our own Lake Dallas School District, we've just been here 3 years, but there was an incident with a coach several years ago, Dugan Walker, in which he was charged. And it all started with text messages, 1,700 text messages. And then there are more. I'll leave it at that. So there are so many channels that the kids have, good and bad, and we can't control everything. And I know the intent is good, but I really would like to request that you rethink it for our kids' safety. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Our next item is our trustee reports, and I'll start down here with Mr. Baird. Nothing? Mr. Smith.
Just excited, again, school year, having to actually see students get to come out and talk to us. Looking forward to see more of them throughout the year during board meetings and other events that we have going on. And excited that the kids are getting into the technology, because I'll probably need them to take care of my computers.
Ms. McKinley, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I ran into Mark at Donuts with Dudes. Was it last week, I think? And so that was good. It was nice I think we received like an official invitation, which was really nice to get that. So last week was my whirlwind tour of the campuses, I guess, because I went to volleyball games. I was so impressed at the middle school with the number of parents that showed up to support the volleyball team. So kudos to the parents and whoever else was there to support them. That was really, again, really nice to see. I love our Falcon pride and our Falcon spirit, and just how even the teams were supporting each other at the game. That was very, very refreshing to see that. So kudos to the coaching staff and to the administrator. And again, just like Bruce was saying, I'm excited to see the kids coming. I love, love, love the artwork outside the door. That's one of the things that brightens my day, to have a little museum, so to speak, outside of our door. It's really nice. So I appreciate that we are really highlighting our students and the things that they're doing. So we appreciate that as well. And really just, I guess, go Falcons, because we've got football, and I heard is there a basketball something today? I didn't see that, but I saw something online about it. But again, really proud of us and what we're doing, also academically, and with sports and all the things that we participate in, and seeing the awards. Was it the art department again that received an award? So again, just kudos to us as Falcons and all that we're doing to help our students succeed.
Mr. Tucker.
Yeah, Melanie, thank you for putting stuff on my calendar, because it reminds me of when I need to go somewhere, so I appreciate that. But we were represented really well last week at the chamber meeting. Dr. Rockwood spoke with Dr. Wilson and from Denton, and he represented us really well, so thank you for that.
Mrs. Tankersley.
I've been back on the board a short time. I've really enjoyed it. I've been met with a lot of greetings from teachers and students, and so that's been really great to see. The new Falcons, I have one directly across the street from me now. It's delightful to see their smiling faces when they get off a bus and they're so excited to go in and tell Mom what a great day they had at school. So I just applaud all our teachers and staff that have worked so hard to make this a good start to a school year. One, when we were coming off of a terrible pandemic, there's other things that we all worry about with our children constantly, but we have to be able to put them in that spot in school where they know they're safe, they feel they're safe, and they can enjoy learning. That's how we're all going to succeed. So thank you to the staff and the parents who enable us to do that, because every time I look out and I see how hard everyone's working at all the schools when I go by, it just amazes me. It amazes me the commitment we have to our children here locally. So thank you is my biggest word.
Mrs. Collier.
Sorry, couldn't push my button. Well, Mark took what I was going to say, so I just want to reiterate again the chamber luncheon that we went to and how well Dr. Rockwood represented our school district, and it was a very informative and information that they had questions. They answered all of them in a roundtable discussion. Anyway.
All right. Our next item is our superintendent report. Dr. Rockwood.
Well, I'll echo all the comments. We've had some fantastic athletic performances lately. Our high school football team is 4-0. And speaking of 4-0, I was with Mr. Caldwell with the 7th grade A team about a week ago. They were up 40-0 on the opponent, looking fantastic. I didn't know our middle school games got just as busy as our varsity games. So great things happening athletically. Obviously, volleyball is competing at a high level, and I won't start naming extracurriculars. I'll get in trouble here, but they're all doing fantastic stuff here. But I will say right now, at this point of the year, art. I've got to compliment Cade Allen. This is a student from LDMS. He was awarded the overall grand champion in the art division at the North Texas State Fair art competition. So awesome job to Cade. And then, as Ms. McKinley alluded to, for the 4th consecutive year, the visual arts program from all of our campuses are a TAEA District of Distinction. This is only for the top 5% of art programs in all of Texas. So kudos to all the great things happening there. And then just this morning, Miss Avellino and myself were able to congratulate 2 Lake Dallas High School seniors, Junwei Gu and Levi Cooley, for being named National Merit semifinalists, which we were very happy about. They represent 1% of students in the state. So we are super excited for them, and great to see the things that are happening in Lake Dallas ISD, both academically, artistically, and academically.
Thank you, sir. Our next item is our consent agenda. The consent agenda are those routine items that can be handled in one motion. Is there any comment regarding the consent agenda from anybody? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Is it on?
I pushed it 3 times to
Okay.
do it.
You got a motion by Mr. Smith for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by
I got the
Mrs.
mic at work.
Tankersley. If there's any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of approval, please indicate. And that passes unanimous, 7-0. Thank you. Our next item is our action items. The first and only item is consideration approval of the SHAC board member ex officio member selection.
All right, good evening, Dr. Rockwood and board. This evening, we are going to ask you to consider who will serve as the ex officio or non-voting member of the Student Health Advisory Council. To give you a little bit of background on it, SHAC is a district-level advisory council. It is authorized by board policy, EHAA legal. The SHAC does hold regular meetings and periodically meets with the board to provide advice and recommendations on the school health program. This year specifically, they will be looking at instruction on the prevention of child abuse, family violence, dating violence, and sex trafficking. So membership on SHAC includes Board of Trustee annually appointed members. So there's 5 members. You appointed 6 members earlier in the year. And then the entire committee will consist of no more than 25 members and no less than 10 members, the majority of those individuals being parents in the district. Members may serve 3-year terms, but there are no term limits. And then the Board of Trustees shall appoint a board member to serve as an ex officio non-voting member on the SHAC committee. So the next steps, we're asking you tonight to consider who will serve as that ex officio member. And then the first meeting is Thursday, October 6th, here at this building at 4 p.m. With that, do you have any questions?
Is there any questions from the board? If not, looking for a nomination for that spot.
I nominate Alicia McKinley.
Okay, I have a motion to nominate Alicia McKinley from Mrs. Tankersley. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Mr. Baird. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor of approval of Ms. McKinley to be on the SHAC? And that passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item are future items, and this one is a proposed policy revision to FM local.
All right. So tonight we are bringing you proposed policy revisions to FM local policy. So just as a reminder, legal policy is state law and cannot be changed, but local policy is policy that is adopted by the Board of Trustees. So the recommendations, you did have this in your board packet, but you will see that what's on the left of the screen is the actual revised or proposed revisions for FM local. And so it talks about the official symbols would be established by you. And then it grandfathers all existing uniforms and any purchases that we've made. And then it formally establishes that the school or the district colors are Kelly green and white. It establishes the falcon as the district's mascot. And then it officially names the LDHS school song, which you can see there. So these are the colors that would be, these would be the proposed colors. The first one is the LDISD green. This is the official Kelly green that we use anytime that paint samples are chosen, anything like that. That's the actual Pantone number that's used for the Kelly green. I do want to point out that they look different if you look from screen to screen. The screen in the back behind me is actually the most accurate, but even if you're looking on a computer screen or if you print it out, the green is always going to be a little bit different. So we do our best to make sure that we match it as closely as possible to the Kelly green that you see there as the LDISD green, even when ordering uniforms. Nike has a certain green color, Adidas has a different one. We get as close as possible. The secondary green color you can see we use, like even in the slide deck, there's 2 greens that are there. It's just as an accent color. You'll see it as well whenever you see the Texas and the LD or the Falcon head. And then the gray, black, and white, or the gray and the black are there to be accent colors when needed to outline, to just make things look a little nicer. And then you can see the white color as well. If you, this would be the approved symbols or the official symbols that we would recommend if you decided to make this proposed revision to FM local.
These would be the official district symbols. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the board?
Have we considered adding the fight song into this policy as well?
It has not been considered at this point, but that's something that we could look at making a change to.
Yeah, I would just like to add in the fight song as well.
Would you like to second that, Mr. Baird? We're not voting, so, I mean, you can. I'm just, yeah. All right.
Matter of fact, we briefly spoke about it in the closed, adding that. That was, I got a call this week and was told that we had accidentally left that out. So we'll, since it's a future item, we'll add that to it.
You bet.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Our next item is our information items, the first of which is a strategic plan.
Okay, so I'm going to get us started on the strategic plan. So as you know, this summer you guys approved the strategic plan, the balanced scorecard, and a lot of work went into it back in the spring. And so now it is time to do those updates on the work that has been done by the community. So to introduce this, just to go a little bit over the process that we had, the strategic plan involvement and feedback was from tons of people, really. We kicked it off in the spring of 2022. We had a community committee as well as the senior leadership team meet. There was a campus listening and learning tour that Dr. Rockwood attended each of the 5 campuses and did the SWOT analysis where they identified a strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat for each of the campuses. And then there was the community stakeholder survey that was open for 3 weeks. All of these different touch points, we had over 2,000 responses from the community, from students, from teachers. So we had a lot of feedback going into this process. So the balanced scorecard was approved by you this summer, and it includes the belief statements, which include 8 belief statements, 1 for students, 1 for parents and family, 1 for faculty and staff, 1 for campus leadership, 1 for district leadership, and then a final 1 for the school board. The mission, vision, and slogan were looked at as well. The committee created a new mission statement, which is in Lake Dallas ISD, we inspire, educate, and empower our students. And then they reaffirmed the vision and slogan, which is a small school atmosphere, big school opportunities, and then Falcons first. So we established 4 priorities: student success, which you're going to hear a little bit about tonight, faculty and staff engagement, parent and family community support, and finally efficient operations. And then each of those objectives, we established 2 to 3 priorities in each of those. So tonight we are doing the student success piece and giving you an update on that. And then next month you will have faculty, staff engagement. And then after that you'll see kind of how that schedule looks. And so with that, I am going to turn it over to Ms. Cottengame.
Good evening, Board. Good evening, Dr. Rockwood. So as Dr. Heathcote said, I'm here tonight to talk to you about our student success priority. And the first objective under the student success priority is student academic growth. And so one of the things that we'd like to bring to everyone's attention tonight is back before the pandemic, which is the last time we received accountability ratings. Our accountability rating for the whole district was a B. And within that, we had 2 campuses that were Bs and we had 3 campuses that were Cs. And so now coming out of the pandemic, our first accountability ratings on this side of it are the district is a B as a whole, and all 5 campuses are now Bs. And so some of the actions to ensure continued progress are we're going to continue professional learning communities on our campuses. And so what professional learning communities do is they ensure alignment of the written, taught, and tested curriculum, and they ensure equity through collaboration. And so what that does is in these meetings, teachers are talking about they're talking about data, they're talking about what are the standards and what actually do those standards mean. And what comes to light is one of our teachers actually said this is, it's surprising how one teacher can interpret a standard one way and another teacher has a completely different interpretation of that standard. And so through these PLC meetings, they can have those conversations and they come to a solid understanding as a team. So if a student's in my class, they're going to get taught the standard. If they're in the next teacher's class, they're going to get taught the same understanding of the standard, so they walk out having that clear understanding of that standard. And the work of PLCs revolves around 4 questions. When you're in a PLC, what you're talking about should only deal with one of these 4 questions. And it's number 1 is, what do we want our students to know and be able to do? Based on the standards that we're required to teach, what do we want our students to know and be able to do? The second question is, how will we know when they know it? What are we going to do? What's our standard for mastery of that objective? Number 3 is, how will we respond if they don't get it? So what are we going to do when we get the data back and some students still need some intervention? How are we going to respond to that? And question number 4 is, we all have those students that once they've got it, they've got it. So how are we going to extend the learning for those students so we're not holding them back? But that's what should be happening in a PLC. And the PLCs are led at this time by the instructional coach and or the principal. So a lot of times they plan those together. Eventually, what we'd like to see happen is that gets handed over to the department chair or the team lead, and then the instructional coach and the principal are just there to facilitate. They're not actually leading the meeting. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to continue the use of data to drive instruction. You know, we assess, but our belief is that we assess for a reason, and we use that information to go back and see what the students know, what they don't know, and then what can we do to help that. Because that the data shows areas of celebration and areas where we're in need of improvement, but it also allows for that timely intervention by student by skill. It allows us to see exactly what each student needs to provide that intervention. And then here are some PLCs in action from some of the different schools in the district. And so you can see they're either gathered around talking about data and grouping kids, and then what do we need those to work with those students in those groups on, or they're talking about some of these where they were looking at their standards in the upcoming unit to try to decide which ones are those priority standards, which ones do we need to spend the most time on, and then how can we fill in these other standards around that so that the students are getting exactly what they need. But these were all within the last couple of weeks in the district. And the next objective under this priority is student engagement and culture. And so this is all very new because, as you know, we just adopted the balanced scorecard over the summer, so we're still in the process of collecting data for each one of these objectives. And so the data we have for student engagement and culture right now is attendance rates. And so the attendance rate last year for students was 93.4%. Our teacher attendance rate was 80.8%, and our staff attendance rate was 81.1%. But let me say this, the teacher and staff attendance rates look very low, but included in that number is school-related absences. So if they went to PD or if they took the students, you know, on a trip or something, that's included in that. But also included in that, because we didn't have a different way to track it, are COVID absences. And so that number looks a little bit low for staff because of those reasons. And so some of the actions that we're going to do to ensure continued progress in this area are, we want to monitor student and staff attendance. And so we can monitor that on a regular basis, and if we see trends that come up, then we can put plans in place to address those. The second thing we want to do is administer surveys to determine the level of satisfaction and engagement. And so that would show us areas where we could stand to improve. It could show us, is it classroom engagement? Is it whole school engagement? Different types of things that we need to look at. And then the third thing is, we want to monitor participation in extracurricular activities, because, you know, we would like to think it's the academics that get kids to school, but we really do understand for a lot of kids it's the extracurricular activities that get them here. And so if we want to offer things that the students are interested in, and then we also want to increase the participation in those things so that we can really ensure students are engaged. And here are some pictures of some of our extracurricular activities. And so you can see, of course, at the high school, we have band and we have cheer. In the middle at the top is Folklorico from Lake Dallas Elementary. In the bottom left, those are our welding students at a welding competition. And then bottom right hand are a group of students engaged in the Chef-tastics Club. So those are just a few of the opportunities we have around the district for students to be engaged in extracurricular things. And then the last objective for this priority is students are responsible contributing members of the community. And so again, the data we have to support this area right now is college career military readiness from our accountability data. And so our accountability data that we just received was we had 56% of our seniors that received credit for a college career military readiness. And so our actions for this area are we want to develop the whole child. And so some of the things that are in place for this school year are every campus has Falcon time or advisory. And part of that time can be used to do things that will support that. We can have counselor lessons, they can go in with PBIS activities, as well as academic things. The elementaries all have the Leader in Me, which works with students on how to be leaders. We have the PBIS, which is Positive Behavior Intervention Supports, which helps students understand how they need to behave. And then, as you heard earlier, we have the computer labs this year. And with computer labs, we're teaching those students, part of that is digital citizenship and how to act and how to respond in a digital community. And then also we have initiatives such as Start with Hello Week, Unity Day, and Red Ribbon Week. Another thing for this area is we want to increase the percentage of graduates that are college career military ready. And so we've started a college career military ready tracker where we have all the students at the high school and we're tracking, are they getting those CCMR points checked off? We've discussed with the high school this year, given the school day SAT exam, where all the juniors are given the SAT on the campus. So we're ensuring that students are taking the test, but then we can use that data, again, just like we use STAR data. Where are the strengths and weaknesses of our students, and how can we do interventions for those students so that they are getting what they need as far as SAT and AP exams. And then another thing we're doing is our IBCs, our industry-based certifications. We're making sure that every program of study at the high school has an industry-based certification tied to it so that our students are leaving us with more than a diploma. And then the last thing in this area is we want to increase the amount of citizenship and service learning opportunities and hours for our students. And so what we want to do is we want to market the opportunities that we do have available, but then we also want to look at businesses and organizations within the community to increase the number of opportunities that we have for those students as well. And so here are some of those opportunities that we do have. And so there's the nursing home the pep rally at the nursing home. The bottom left is the middle school students working in the Thousand Oaks Rock Garden. The middle one is the elementaries did a canned food drive back last semester, and this one was from LDE. And the two pictures on the right are our middle school students at the Community Back to School Fair. And so as Dr. Heathcote said, in October, we will have a report on the faculty and staff engagement priority from the balanced scorecard. Any questions?
Any questions from the board?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The CCMR rating, can you remind us? I've forgotten what all we're looking at.
Yes, ma'am. There are several indicators in that, and I don't know that I'll remember them all off the top of my head, but it's like SAT scores, AP scores, it's dual credit classes, it is industry, if they have certifications as they go through, it's those kinds. I can get you a complete list if you'd like it, but those are the ones I can remember off the top of my head. Mm-hmm.
Christy also explained the lagging component of CCMR data.
Yes. CCMR data, it's a year behind. So what you see in this one that I showed you tonight is actually from the graduates from a year ago. Just because it takes time to gather all that information, and like we don't even get AP scores until the middle of July. And so last year's seniors will go into this year's accountability. So what we're actually working on this year will go into next year's accountability. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one of the things that you mentioned is that there's going to be a survey. Who are you surveying?
Well, actually, and we'll have that in the district improvement plan that we're going to present next month, but we've talked about a few different types of surveys. And so one would be staff, some would be students, just to try to, because when you go through it, there are several layers to this, and we want to make sure that we are gathering data from all of those layers.
Okay, and then the extracurricular, where you're saying like to increase student participation. My question is like, are you counting? So like, there's 10 basketball players and 50 football players and whatever, but like some of those players play football and some of them are in a band and some of them are also in something else. So are you counting like each? Like, are you double counting, I guess is what I want to say, for all those students that may be in multiple organizations, or is it truly just going to be one student, no matter, they'll just be counted as one, no matter how many activities they actually participate in?
That's a great question, and we haven't even gotten to that discussion, but I think our goal would really be that we want as many students involved in something as possible. Does that make sense? Just so they're engaged with something.
I know we have a lot of overlapping, so I was like,
Yes,
our
ma'am.
numbers can look great, because I have a kid that's participating in like 4 activities, and so, but he's only one person. But if you
Right.
counted him for all 4, then it would be like, oh, wow, that's great, but.
Yeah, no, I think what would be more beneficial for us is to have as many students engaged as possible and not, well, it shows that we've got 2,000 kids that are doing extracurricular activities when really it's 500 kids that are involved multiple times.
Question. It's not on still. When they're having the PLCs, is it a planning time that they have that they're using this for? Or when are they able to all get together? I mean, what are we asking basically of the staff? Just because at this point in the world, we're asking our teachers to be so many things, I think it's a good reminder for all of us of how much they do have on their plate. When are they getting that PLC time?
That's a great question. And right now they're getting it, well, at the elementaries, they're getting it during their planning time. And last year we tried different options. We tried creating time for them outside of their planning time. And this year, I believe with the principals, they all came back and said, nope, that takes too much time away from instruction. We want it in our planning time. At the middle school, theirs is in their planning time as well. But then at the high school, they've created an advisory period every day. And so there's a 40-minute block where a different group goes each day for their PLC time.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments? All right. I think you're off the hook. Thank you. Our next item is our upcoming meetings and events.
I got to press the button too here. It is actually Start With Hello Week, which is underway. The program teaches us to be more socially inclusive and connected to each other. Each day there are activities for students to participate in, so you can check that out on ldisd.net. As was mentioned, it's almost homecoming. Lights, Camera, Falcons, and that's next week. So visit the homecoming webpage to learn more about that. The board will have its famous, and not infamous, but its famous float put together by Mr. Baird and Mr. Tucker, different folks. We're all going to be there with our Falcon green on. I'm sure it will be a lot of fun to support our Falcons. And those are the big ones coming up. Miss Landrum, off the top of your head, is it November 3rd is the LCEF Gala? Is that correct? And so they're at the Embassy Suites in Denton. So we're back after a couple-year hiatus, but that's always a big event supporting our Falcons, so we certainly appreciate the foundation for all it does.
All right. Thanks, sir. Our next item is executive session if needed. Have any reason for that? Nope. We don't have any reason to go into executive session, so that concludes our business for the evening, and we are adjourned at 6:48. Thank you.